Okay, so everyone likes porn, and there's this kind of idea going around that it's completely harmless. And we're looking, men and women, both of them are looking at pornography. Maybe men a little bit more, but statistically, but um, still. So we're looking at like 80 to 90 something percent of the male population of America looks at pornography. So that's a pretty high amount. That would mean that religious people are looking at pornography too, because I know that there's more than 5%, 5 to 10% of America that's religious. So let's look 8 reasons why you should stop looking at pornography. Should you stop looking at pornography? Let's kind of take this apart a little bit by little bit. Reason number 1: spiritual problems. Obviously, masturbation is not a sin. However, lusting is. Well, you might say, okay, but I don't really believe in religion or God or whatever. Okay, so maybe one isn't for you. And if you are a religious person, then you probably already know one. So number 2, pornography causes physical problems. Well, what do you mean by that? For instance, erectile dysfunctions. It also causes problems with intimacy and arousal. It causes problems with being intimate with a spouse or lover or whatever. See, at first it can be kind of like a turn on, maybe even you can incorporate it into your sex, and eventually it just deteriorates and leaves with bad feelings. And I mean, let's be real. When you look at pornography, you basically are cheating. So, I mean, even if you're not a religious person, I mean, that's just obvious. That's just obvious. Let's not forget also that pornography isn't real. None of it is real. I mean, it takes people days to shoot a single sex film. Like, did you hear what I just said? Days. When's the last time that it has taken you days to have sex with your partner or whoever? It's just not realistic. Number 3, mental problems. It doesn't cause mental problems. Yes, actually it does. It really, really does. It causes, first off, it's addictive, as is a lot of things. Now, it's not addictive like drugs are. Like, for instance, if you stop looking at pornography, you're not going to die. You're not going to have to wean yourself off of pornography. But it is still addictive. It follows all the addiction patterns. People have a hard time not looking at pornography. And I don't have that problem. Okay, try. Don't look at pornography ever again. See how difficult it is for you. And you'll see, no, you can't really stop. See, the first step to recovery is having to admit that you have a problem. And it definitely is a problem. It negatively affects life, thought processes, and things like that. So let's kind of take this apart. First off, anxiety and depression. It's not definitely proven that it causes it, but it definitely has a negative effect on it. It changes your thought processes. And this is just, a fact. If you've been involved with pornography, you kind of understand this. It's just, and then it just negatively affects life in general. Your outlook on life, for instance, things can often seem more dark and gray. And see, this problem is actually twofold, because computer screens and technology and stuff already cause problems with the mind, with addiction and that kind of stuff. So then, when you add that problem with also looking at pornography, you've got these two problems that are combining itself together, which makes for very addictive personality. So number 4, relational problems. Anybody who's been in pornography knows this. It's not real. You have this false expectation of what it's going to be like, and it's not really like that at all. At all. I mean, it doesn't even matter what aspect you're talking about. It's not going to be like on the film. It's not like that. So you have this idea of what it's going to be like. Every time you have sex, she's just going to be overly into you. She's going to have all kinds of orgasms, and it's just going to be so amazing. The building is going to rock, and she's never going to want to stop, and you're going to have stamina to go for days, and it's not like that. It's just not like that. Real sex is very messy and very dirty and very intimate and very real and very unhidden. It's very difficult to not be real with someone that you are naked with. That's just kind of very uncomfortable. So now when you take that apart and you say, well, I have sex with lots of people, well, obviously that's going to diminish the connection that you have with people, obviously. I mean, that shouldn't be that, and it'll make it less special. That shouldn't be a surprise. Anyways, pornography is also a leading cause to abuse, child abuse, and spousal abuse, and all kinds of different things like that. It's a big factor towards rape. You know, basically with pornography, you have sex on demand, and it's any kind of sex you want. So when you transfer that to another person, it's hard to remember that they have their own tastes and their own expectations. Pornography absolutely kills love, that's for sure. It just kind of deadens you. It's like taking a drugs that cause you to not feel things. That's exactly what it's like. And I'm not just talking about in your genitals. I'm talking about, you know, in your heart, in your mind. It absolutely kills it. Not to mention that it will cause problems. If your spouse finds out, they will probably have a problem with it, unless they have a problem with pornography, in which case you should both get help. It also is a leading cause of sex trafficking. So you really want to do something big, stop looking at porn. You really don't like the way that President Trump, you know, says extremely inappropriate things, well then that even more so means you shouldn't be looking at pornography. I mean, it's very two-faced to say, oh, you don't have the right to say that behind closed doors to a friend, but I have the right to be looking at naked people and then masturbating to them behind closed doors. That doesn't fit. So, I mean, honestly, we are masters of picking apart everything that everybody else is doing wrong, but let's not forget to, you know, I have a nephew, and I always tell him, he's kind of bossy, you know, who are you in charge of? You. And so let's kind of look at that with this. Who are you in charge of? You. I mean, it's good to be against the stupid things that have been said by people. However, it's not good enough to analyze everybody else's faults and leave your own faults alone. That's just not good enough. So, okay, causes relational problems. Number 5, social problems. Well, what do you mean? Well, besides the whole sex trafficking and abuse thing, let's look past that for a moment and mistreatment of others in general. People who are on pornography are going to have a harder time, first off, dealing with their mothers. Especially men have a harder time dealing with their mothers. They're going to have... and just a side note here, typically however a man treats his mom is however he's going to treat you as a spouse. Typically, not always. However the woman treats the father is usually how she'll treat the husband. Not always, but a lot of times it's like that. So if you find a guy who really treats his mother well, I mean, I'm not talking about Norman Bates style, but just keep that in mind. You know, I think sometimes we don't put enough effort into looking for a good mate. Sometimes we just have sex with people based on our attraction level to them. Oh, well, I love them. Well, love really isn't a feeling. See, the thing that we call love is just hormones that go through our body that tell us to mate and tell us to get involved with somebody. Love is an action of surrendering yourself for the well-being of another person. So now let's take that and say, do you really love them, or do you just like how they look? It's easy to connect with them, that kind of stuff. So just think about that. So social problems. Obviously, mistreatment of others, more short-tempered. People who look at pornography are greatly less in control of other things. They're more likely to overeat, more likely to overdrink, more likely to have sex with everybody, more likely to lose their temper all the time. They're more likely to be abusive. When you learn to take what's not yours and to overindulge in something that's not yours, it will have effects on other areas in your life. That's just a fact of life. Also, it can cause you to be more introverted, less attached to people, which is one of the ways that it can affect depression. See, the problem is we are more than just statistics, and everybody works differently, and you've got all these different factors and history that all works together to make somebody who they are. And so it's kind of a hard question to say, hey, this is what causes that. It can. It's a little bit difficult. So, but anyways, So number 6, pornography is progressive. This is another reason why you should stop looking at pornography. It demands more and worse. If you look at pornography, you'll eventually look at more pornography. If you look at pornography, you'll look at worse pornography. See, when I first got into pornography, I was content with simply looking at a woman naked. I was okay with that. But then eventually, it started to become a thing of perfectionism. See, eventually, she wasn't good enough. She didn't look good enough. I wanted someone who looked better. It became a competition. And everything became all pursuing about everywhere I went. I would always judge every woman that I saw based on hotness. It was a constant thing I was looking for. I would masturbate to her. I would not masturbate to her. Maybe if I was desperate enough. See what I mean? Every single person. Now then, take that and walk through a mall. And how many people do you see at the mall? Well, less nowadays with Amazon. But still. It is progressive. And it demands more and worse. It always is that way. And it will eventually lead to things like child pornography and stuff. That's the way it goes. And I know people put up a big line in the sand between, oh no, regular pornography and then child pornography. And I'm not standing up for child pornography. I think it's disgusting. But I think that we need to realize that normal pornography is also disgusting. You know, how is it okay to look at this person and the things that you think? I mean, obviously we should protect children, absolutely, but we should also protect adults. You know, children get molested and adults also get raped. This is not a problem that's specific only to children. This is a problem that we have. And it's disgusting, and we do need to deal with it. Number 7, pornography kills the beauty of sex. See, sex is meant to be awkward. It's meant to be hard. It's meant to be something that's difficult to deal with. That's supposed to be how sex is. But with pornography, it just makes it so unimportant and so low-key. It just completely takes away the magic of connecting with someone. It makes it common and it makes it not good enough. So let's take that twofold part about it kills the beauty of it. First off, it makes it common. Sex becomes something that's not special. I can get that anywhere. And it basically turns every woman that you see into your own whore. Because you are mentally undressing people in real life because you do it in your private life. It makes sex uncommon, common and unspecial. And then it's also not good enough. You know, this kind of sex isn't good enough. Now we need to try anal sex. Now we need to try oral sex. Now we need to try this and this. And I'm not saying that necessarily those things are bad or good or whatever. I'm just saying it causes you to want more. And then eventually you're not satisfied in your partner. You know, so you start noticing their flaws. Oh, well, they have love handles. Yes, the majority of people have love handles. I know they don't in pictures because they can edit them, and in sex videos because they can get them from just the right angle. But in real life, people have imperfections. And pornography is just another part of the puzzle of people expecting perfection out of life. Life isn't meant to be perfect. It's meant to be messy. And so when you take something like pornography, you set unrealistic goals here, and it just kills the beauty of the natural process of sex. Number 8, it encourages objectification of women. You cannot be for women's rights and look at pornography. It's just not possible. It is not possible. It's not possible. Oh, well, yeah, I don't think pornography is right. Now, I stand up for women's rights. Well, then you are a hypocrite. You are a very big hypocrite. Because basically what pornography says is your body is there only to please me. That's it. And as long as I get off, I don't care about you. And then you're saying, oh no, I'm also standing up for them. So publicly you're standing up for them, but behind closed doors you're spiting them? Also, let's not forget that sex is a big part, pornography is a big part of sex trafficking. So you're actually causing women to be sold into sex trade. How can you possibly be for women's rights if you're causing women to be sold to sex? How is that possible? But you're encouraging women who had high hopes and dreams to sell their future for the sake of getting someone else off. They're not even a person anymore. They're nothing anymore. You've taken their person from them. You know, I know people say this a lot. Well, that's somebody's daughter. Yeah, I know, and then somebody's friend, and somebody's I mean, goodness sakes, what if you ever want to get out of porn? And let's say you're at a store or something and people recognize you. Oh, gee, I wonder where you recognize me from. That's going to have a negative effect on your future with people. Alright, that, but let's not fail to mention STDs. I think that this is kind of important. There's just so many things about sex that it's not meant to be casual like our culture says it's supposed to be. It's just not. I mean, honestly, you can lie to yourself and say it's supposed to be casual, but it's not. We just know inside of us it's just not. Sex is something special, and we know that. So now, before I close this up, I just want to kind of share my own personal story here. I got into pornography when I was 9 years old. 9 years old. Do you have 9-year-old kids? Think about that, okay? 9 years old. First off, you need to have the talk with your kids, and you need to put up proper guards. Don't let your kids just have free access to the internet. Don't be stupid. Come on. If you get addicted to something at a younger age, it's always harder to beat it. I didn't get out of pornography till I was 24. I'm 27 now. More of my life has been spent in pornography than it has out of pornography. Think about that for a minute. And so I just wanted to stop, and then I stopped. No, it was hard. It was hard. It was a constant fight. A constant fight. Plus, nobody told me that when you're a teenager, you're going to be more horny. You know, nobody told me that. So I thought I would always be like that, and that just caused me to be even more hopeless about it. There is hope. You can't get off of pornography. This is just 8 reasons why you should get off of pornography. If you're saying, okay, I want to get out of pornography, what do? I will upload more videos in the future about steps, about slowly getting over pornography, because it's not going to be one of those one-and-done things. It's going to be slowly rewriting your brain and rethinking things and forcing yourself to think and feel different than you naturally do from looking at pornography. So, that's for another day. I hope that this has convinced you to some small degree to stop looking at pornography. At least to look at it less. I mean, just anywhere. Any forward progress is good forward progress. And you might say, okay, so what are the resources for the different things you left? You said. So first off, there's a website specifically that I want you to check out. It's called fightthenewdrug.org. Please check it out. It's awesome. There's a lot of scholarly articles that have been written about pornography and the effects of it. So I would highly encourage you to look at those kinds of magazines and those kinds of things. Don't look at a blog online where this guy on his blog says that, hey, pornography isn't harmful. Well, I'm glad that you and your infinite blog has decided this, but look at actual research and what it actually shows. Also, be real with yourself. I mean, goodness sakes, I know a lot of what I know about pornography from experience. And if you're in pornography, just stop trying to excuse it and actually stop and think about it and say, is this right, and is it having an effect on me? Legitimately. I mean, let's be real here. Anything that we're addicted to is going to have an effect on us. If you drink, it's going to have an effect on you. If you smoke, it's going to have an effect on you. I'm not just talking about physical, I'm talking about mental too. It's just things have effects on us. We can't do something and not be affected by it. If I touch paint, I'm going to have paint on my hands. Duh. If I touch tar, I'm going to have tar on my hands. If I stick my hand in fire, my hand is going to get burned. That's just the way the world works. It's just the way things are. I mean, it shouldn't surprise us that there are negative effects from looking at pornography. I mean, this is just duh. If you believe in, occasionally you hit a few good articles in Psychology Today. Now, I really wouldn't recommend Psychology Today for any serious research, but occasionally they do have some good articles. So, keep that in mind. Also, just simple Google searches. Simple Google searches. It doesn't have to be anything overly complicated. Really, the evidence is everywhere. The problem is that we don't want to look at the evidence because we'd rather look at people naked because that feels better. But once again, please don't look at porn.